Hello, everybody, and welcome to our today's webinar of OpenE, JovianVHR. Before we start, I would like that you confirm quickly that you can hear me via the chat or see me as well, and then I can proceed with the webinar. That would be great. All right. Okay. So thank you very much. Yeah. Today is a very special day. We are gonna launch a new product at OpenE, and as you can already see, it is our name JovianVHR. Maybe let me introduce you myself for everybody which is not familiar with myself. My name is Sebastian Reich. I'm a business development manager at OpenE for over 8 years already. And next to me is my pre-sales colleague Rafael, which also showcase a demo of the software later on, and getting through everything, making a small guidance, and of course answering any questions which you might have. Yeah, today it is very special, as I already said. As you can see, we have this Veeam ready repository logo, and in the same coloring as the VHR. And as you maybe can already guess, the name VHR is named Jovian Veeam Hardened Repository, which means we're offering, let's say, an add-on software for Veeam, because Veeam is the most used data storage software or backup software in the world. And we have a great addition which we can achieve. We call it the double layer immutability for your backup. Yeah, let's gonna take a look at our today's agenda, what we are going through. So first of all, we're gonna discuss the question why immutability is so important and why does it matter. What is even a Linux hardened repository from Veeam itself? And of course, in the middle, we have our new product introducing, JovianVHR. Later on, we're gonna see a quick live demo from Rafael. And next, we're gonna take a quick look, small comparison where you can use OpenE Jovian DSS, where you can use VHR. And as on every webinar, we have a Q&A session at the very end. So we will address all the questions you might have during the webinar. By the way, if you already have some questions during the webinar, please feel free to ask them. We will try to stop immediately, or we'll try to answer them as soon as possible as we can. And if not, at the end, there is still some time, and we're gonna try to address everything. Yeah, let's talk some words about OpenE for everybody which is not familiar with us. OpenE is a US company, but we are let's say, a pure European company. Our heart is definitely more European, even though we're official US global company. I'm sitting here in Germany, in Puchheim by Munich. We have an office. Rafael is sitting in Poland, in Bytom, where we have the biggest office. Then as well, we have the office in Japan, as we have a big customer market there with many petabytes, and as well, of course, in the United States, as it's also a very big market for us. Yeah, we can proudly say we have achieved over 40,000 installations worldwide in over 100 countries around the globe. And where I'm really proud of, we are more than 25 years over the market, especially in branch which is very fast changing. And yeah, it's, I think, almost 27 years now. We had our anniversary 2 years ago in Poland. It was a blast. It was really nice. Yeah, and for all those who don't know, OpenE works as we are a software manufacturer. We are openly working exclusively with our channel and technology partners together to present solutions for our customers. Yeah, let's get right into the topic, immutability. What is it even? Let's start maybe with a very basic question. So as the word already indicates, immutability is we need to make the data immune for at least, let's say, a predefined period of time, so that we can protect the data against, let's say, modification or even deletion, or any modifications through malware or ransomware. And we at OpenE believe strongly that one layer of defense is just not enough. And as we can see, it is highly recommended because to use even more layers of defense, not just the firewall and different backup servers. As we can see, almost 60% of all organizations worldwide were hit by ransomware just in the last year. And the recovery cost is about 2.73 million per case, which is ridiculous, I think, according to this Sophos State ransomware report from the last year. So we also show some other important parts why it is so important. So first of all, we have to know that also the Veeam backup servers can be encrypted, and is often the case. It's they are the first priority either from the attackers. Like the first devices which will be encrypted will be the backup servers, so that the data is blocked, so they cannot make any restores, and so basically that's a pretty thin path we're walking here, and that's why we believe you need to have JovianVHR, that you have a true immutability, as we can call it, that you have more layers. Also, this important you need for compliance and auditing reports, as we have here in Europe, especially. We have this new NIS2 guideline, for example, which should, let's say, cover that all the supply chains are properly documented, and you have to prove to the BSI, or basically to the German government, that you, as a CEO of your company, you did everything which was in your might, or which you could do to protect your data or to protect your business the best as you can. And of course, this is also important, by the way, when it comes to insurances. We have many customers, not just with high availability, that you get better insurances tariffs. It is also even for the backup strategies, that you, when you have, let's say, multiple backup strategies, that you get, let's say, a better insurance or not so high fees there. And because you did, of course, in advance a lot of mitigation, and you take care of your stuff. So the next is pretty similar. We want to ensure business continuity and disaster recovery, because this is like the worst nightmare which can happen, that you have like any downtime, and we want to make sure you will never face any of these issues. That's why we suggest critical infrastructure deployments, best, of course, with Jovian DSS solutions as well, in combination with Veeam. What is also important, you need to have retention plans, because if you do, let's say, such a Veeam hardened repository backup, it costs a lot of resources, and you don't want to let's just waste them. You want to make sure all the resources are optimal used and everything is saturated to the fullest, I guess. So we suggest, therefore, workload intensive deployments which can handle it. And last but not least is data integrity. And this is really great addition, because as we are using the combination of the XFS file system and CFS, which is known for that for every bit which is written in CFS, there is such a called hash, or a bit like a hash MD5 sum created, and it ensures all these bits, they will be the file system is always checking if they're correct and there's no, let's say, errors. So if you write data on CFS, it is almost 1000% guaranteed they're always very consistent integrity, and there is no like data corruption or silent data corruption. It cannot really happen. And therefore we say, of course, long-term backups. Coming to the next point, what is even a hardened repository from Veeam? Maybe let's talk about Veeam quickly. So Veeam is probably the global leader of all backup software, and we decided that we are joining them in a case of, because a lot of people or customers or partners are using also Jovian in combination with Veeam. and but they only had this, let's say, a hardened repository, but you had to use, let's say, a plain Linux and do it. And therefore, we had this idea to make this product. So what does Veeam does here is, first of all, they have this immutability feature. It writes to a certain secure location, and therefore you will get also a credential, which makes sure you get, let's say, a extra password. And all these credentials, they are not saved in any configurations file, and also not at the backup server or anything, so that it's extra secure location where you put away like big files, like you have image level VM backups, you have maybe physical machine backups, cloud machine backups, or unstructured data backups. So any kind of backup is in there. Yeah, and but we believe this is not enough, this hardened repository, and that's why we're having also our product, JovianVHR, which we're gonna introduce right now. Yeah, what is JovianVHR? It is basically a solution which harmonizes very well with the hardened repository framework of Veeam itself, and you become a location for the backup. In this case, the CFS pool, where you write your hardened repository that the data's on. And this will ensure that you have even another layer of security. As we know, the CFS file system is designed, it is had some unique features as like a copy on write or read protected snapshots. Let's say the snapshots which you're doing and you have to do, they are write protected by design, so they cannot be modified or deleted or from any attackers somehow stolen. It is impossible, basically. Also, our focus was on that we, of course, provide unmatched data protection. So it is that we are making this true, adding this true second immutability layer on it, on top of Veeam hardened repository. And last but not least was our main focus on, of course, that you have a nice management, like you have a nice GUI, like it is in Jovian, but of course with restricted options and with a very affordable pricing. Of course, you could do this solution by your own, by using maybe a standard CFS, but you can try it. It is not going to work out. We've tried it. It is not working. That's why also you need this solution, of course, tested and verified by Veeam, which we of course have. So let's gonna take a look into the details. What is it even? So the first layer consists of Veeam, as we can see here. We have first the hardened repository itself. It provides these immutable attributes like the single-use credential. They have also some, let's say, very unique features like the Veeam fast clone, zero trust design, like no persistent root access. That's like all Veeam features. And what we are going to add to the table is through the CFS file system, we are going to do a copy on write file system, and we are able to do read-only snapshots. As said, with CFS, we are able to have a self-healing system. Also, we can even enhance the performance of the Veeam hardened repository by caching mechanism. We can, let's say, specify a write or read cache. Rafael will show this later in the details as well. And we have even additional compression and deduplication on board. Yes, the Veeam software itself does as well deduplication by its own. I know that, I'm aware of that. And I think it makes probably not the most sense to turn on our deduplication as well, but the compression for sure, which is on by design by our software standard, because it costs no performance at all. Maybe in some cases, but I would say maybe 1 out of 100 another deduplication layer makes sense, but I guess probably not.
If I can, Sebastian, interrupt you here, actually, the duplication on JovianVHR is very useful because you can move the duplication load from the Vim server to JovianVHR, right? So JovianVHR is not really doing so much, right? The load is not that high, so you can easily move the load to the VHR server and balance the load on your system. So it's actually quite useful.
Oh, that's great, Raphael. I'm really sorry. I wasn't aware of that, but
Don't worry, that's why I'm here. Yeah.
thanks for adding this up. Yeah, and yeah, what we can also do is we can select up to triple parity array, means like a RAID 7 or even up to a RAID C3, as we call it in the CFS jargon. We also have metadata pinning on board, which can be enabled on every hard disk by its own. It's just a little speed push or boost as well. And we have CFS special devices, which we, I think, included with update 30 in Jovian itself. It is also included in JovianVHR, which you can use NVMEs or SSDs to define as additional cache, as for example, the deduplication table and some typical CFS data will be stored, like some metadata and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, let's summarize what is the double layer immutability. So it is the combination, as we heard, of the two distinct independent layers of immutability to provide enhanced data protection. So first we're gonna Veeam's hardened repository framework, and then we combine it with the CFS immutable snapshots, which will be provided by, of course, Jovian VHR. Yeah, the hardened repository immutability, it enforces using the XFS immutable attributes. That's the first layer. And once the backup data is written, the system gets protected, basically, that we cannot delete the data or it gets modified for a certain predefined amount of time. Yeah, and you also have this single credentials mechanism, which gives another security. We have that also on your smartphone backup, maybe on some programs. That's just another security layer. Yeah, and then we have this, of course, the CFS snapshots immutability. We have this copy on write through the CFS file system. It offers snapshots by itself. And also the good part is, even when the snapshot is taken, it only, let's say, writes the new data, which is created from the last snapshot to the next one. It only writes, let's say, the production data. Yeah, there is no full backup needed all the time. It only replaces the data which is new. Yeah, there is of course extreme examples. If you are, let's say, a video rendering production company and you have 50 terabyte of raw data every day and you would to backup it, of course it needs to make a full backup, but in most of the cases, in most companies, this will be not really the case. So most people have consistent data, or which is not that frequent changing. Yeah, why is it so critical? Because we think it is necessary, as we heard before. There is too many risks outside there, especially from the internet. There is so many ransomware attacks, so we need to give you another layer of defense. And yeah, we call this the unmatched data protection, that you get another defense wall here. Yeah, we close the ransomware gap here. In this case, we reduce the amount of risk you're taking. We reduce the single point of failure in this case if you just use one layer of defense. And yeah, also we make sure you stay safe and stay compliant with all your backup and other data backup strategy plans. Yeah, and as said, we can also enhance or tune the performance here. As Raphael mentioned, we through a CFS caching, we can even boost the Veeam's performance here with the Veeam fast technology. And yeah, I think this is a great feature here even as well. Yeah, of course, important is to know this is officially, of course, tested by Veeam. You can check on the Veeam site. There's all the different vendors which have, of course, any add-ons, and we have this official logo that we are repository ready. And yeah, it's makes sure the software is just not working flawlessly. That's for sure. But it's great for the performance, because we have tested it, especially with many customers with very heavy duty backup jobs, like multiple petabytes to save the data. And it's really a difference, because if you look at all these solutions, this is pretty interesting. I saw it today. You will find a lot of solutions which works with, let's say, S3 object protocol. But if you take a closer look, you will find all these solutions are somehow certified for flash solutions only. And this is not what we want. We think this is probably not the right technology. And that's why we think it's also best for hard disk use. So you can use this also with hard disk only, and it will make it work like a charm through the CFS intelligent caching. So, of course, it is compatible with Veeam. You have to, of course, set even SSA key handshake if you connect the two softwares in the first when you run them together. So, of course, all this is ensured that everything is working, and of course all the compliance is given. Yeah, we think it's pretty affordable. So it's an enterprise grade solution with a nice GUI, and I think everybody can use it. Raphael will show it later on, and I'm pretty sure everybody can understand it. Yeah, but before we're gonna take a look at the software itself, let's talk a few words about the pricing. So first of all, the pricing is the base license, and the extension is always for free. Means even if you have 5 petabytes, you will pay only support, and this is only what we are charged in general. We're only charging the support fee depending on the capacity region, same as it was in Jovian. We have this range from 0 till 16 terabytes, then from 20 to 128, from 132 to 512, and then over 512 terabyte. And in this range, you will pay just the support pricing. And of course, you can upgrade this anytime. Of course, you can pay as you grow, because this is a term we hear often. Yes, this is all possible. We plan later on, of course, for sure, also subscription for this product, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, of course, the pricing will be based on your partner status levels. Means like we have the same pricing as it was in Jovian itself. Jovian DSS itself, like you are having end user price, authorized silver, gold, and platinum partner pricing, and with the discounts. Yeah. All right. By the way, I'm pretty sure the price lists are already in the partner portal. So if you want to log in, you should already find the partner price lists and marketing material and everything. All right. So let's take a look at the live demo. So finally, Raphael, you can present something. Let's take a look here at the GUI. It is very similar to Jovian, but as we can see, we changed the color slightly. But maybe let's give it a try, and you take the word, Raphael.
Great. Thank you very much, Sebastian. I'll make a quick stop here because we already have 2 questions from Konstantinos, so I think this is a good moment to actually answer them. I'll start with the second one. Well, can I restore specific files without mounting all of the data storage? Yes, this is the feature that is completely supported by Veeam for multiple virtual machines and systems. So there is a feature that is called, if I remember correctly, single file restore. I think this is how it's called, and it uses something that is again from Veeam, a Veeam Explorer feature that allows you to actually not mount the backup, but access the files inside and retrieve it if, for example, if the use case is that the user has, for example, removed something by accident. And the second question, well, is it possible to log backups? Well, it depends what you mean by that. Veeam, of course, supports backup locking, but it's not indefinite, right? So you have to define some time frame to actually, for example, a year to keep it immutable, to keep it locked, or 10 years, or 15 years, or whatever you want. But you have to define this time frame for the file locking. All right. So if you want to add anything to that, or if anybody else has any questions, there will be plenty of options during my demo. So well, don't hesitate. Right. Okay. Let me take over and let me share my screen. Okay. Perfect. It would be great if somebody could let me know if the JovianVHR GUI is visible right now via chat. Perfect. Thank you very much. And of course, in the meantime, once again, hello, good afternoon. I'm Rafał, pre-sales engineer at OpenE. Sebastian has told us all there is to know about JovianVHR, but let me now show you how it works in practice. Yes, Konstantinos, this is the out-of-the-box solution, as I'll show you in a minute. All right. As you can see right off the bat, and as Sebastian has mentioned before, the GUI looks awfully similar to our flagship product, OpenE JovianDSS. And this is actually intended. JovianVHR carries over most of the features of JovianDSS. It is also based on ZFS file system with an underlying Linux Debian actually kernel. And all the safety mechanisms like checksums, for example, like ZFS checksums, are also in place. So if you're familiar already with OpenE JovianDSS, you will have a very easy time adjusting to JovianVHR. The difference is that JovianVHR is a storage system designed as a Vim repository only. So you can't use it to configure storage via, for example, SMB, NFS, iSCSI, or Fiber Channel. JovianVHR, on top of that, JovianVHR can only be configured as a single node, so you don't have a cluster opportunity here. But in turn, it means that you can use all of the redundancy options we provide. So you can use mirrors, you can use RAID Z1, RAID Z2, RAID Z3 in any configuration you want. So let me actually show it to you in practice. All right. Let me simply click Add zpool. And we are greeted with a familiar wizard. So yeah, let me add a simple group. I'll use a mirror group of 2 disks, but you can do whatever you want on your systems. And click next. And here we have write logs. Well, write log option, of course, adds additional caching or actually logging mechanisms, right, for all the write operations on the pool and on the repository. Well, as backup storage is, of course, write heavy because we are mostly writing to the backup storage. This will greatly increase stability and performance of your backup. So it should go without saying that this is one of the disks, one of the caching options that you actually should use. Read cache might not be as self-explanatory because, well, if you think about backup, you mainly think about writing to storage, right? Well, Vim does something that is called synthetic full backup, and here I have a visual representation of it. So, in simple terms, Vim creates first, of course, a full backup, and then it prepares a set of incremental backups up to some point that is configurable inside Vim, which after that set amount of incremental backups, Vim reads, so performs a read operation of all the incremental backups and the first full backup, and creates something that is called synthetic full backup, so a new starting point for the next backups. This has to be done in Vim, and this is enhanced by our read cache feature. If you use read cache, for that, it not only will speed up the process, but the whole process will feel much smoother as, for example, you will be using NVMEs for read cache and HDDs for your backup repository. So you will, the whole process will just simply go much, much smoother. And similarly to read cache, we have special devices group. This works a little bit differently. Special devices group holds all the metadata for all the data that is kept on the pool. But this is actually very beneficial for the same reason, for the synthetic full backup reason, because when we perform a read from backup, we have to locate all of the metadata. If they're located in a special devices group, they're accessible faster, so the data is also accessible faster. So the whole process becomes much smoother and way, let's say, user friendly. The duplication group, this is a bit similar to what we have for special devices. You would only use it if you have the duplication enabled on JovianVHR, of course. So this is something you could, resort to if you use JovianVHR deduplication, as Sebastian has mentioned before. You probably won't use it much, but I guess this is still a good feature to remember about for the future. Spare disks. Well, spare disks are there for these spare disks are reserved in a pool in case one of the disks fails. One thing that I want to mention here is that spare disks are cold spares and not hot spares. The same as they do in Jovian DSS. So no surprise here. All right. So I'm only left with the final configuration. I'll leave the zpool name as it is. And now we'll have to wait a few seconds for the pool to configure. Of course, if you have any questions to what I'm doing right now, you can ask on the chat. I can see it, so I will try to answer it to my best knowledge, of course. All right, but in the meantime, we have the pool ready. So we can go to the zpool options. I just expand the pool options and go to the backup repositories. And here we simply have to click Add New Repository. Here we have to provide a name. I go with something simple, let's say test, for example. And for size, I'll go with something small to make everything fast. So I'll just go with 100 gigabytes. And regarding those options, I guess you should use the default ones in most cases. Of course, if you are using, for example, a full flash storage and VME storage, you might want to change the block size to 16 kilobytes. Or you might want to use thick provisioning instead of thin provisioning, as you want to, plan ahead with the partitioning of your pool, and you want the better stability of thick provisioning. But in most cases, you should be good to go with the default options. So this is what I will leave here. And the last step, at least for now, in JovianVHR, is to activate the SSH protocol. We have to go to the Backup Server Connection tab. And here we activate SSH. And this, to a keen eye, might already seem like it compromises security. Keeping SSH protocol is a backdoor, and you shouldn't do that. And we will disable SSH protocol once we are done with the configuration. The configuration is very, very, very fast. So there's no option for anybody to make an attack here. And once it's disabled, our system will again be safe and protected, right? All right. So this is everything that you have to do when it comes to basic configuration, multi-factor authentication on user interface. That's a good question, Giovanni. Not yet. I'm not sure if it's on the roadmap. I can ask around, but for now we only have the administrator account.
It is on the roadmap, and it
is perfect
for sure. Yeah.
Great. That's great news. So Giovanni, this is your answer. It will come in the future, but for now we only have this single user account. All right. So with what we have right here, we can simply go to Vim, right? Okay. Go to Backup Infrastructure and Backup Repositories, and we simply click Add Repository. If you're familiar with Vim, this is the bread and butter of Vim. We click Direct Attach Storage, and Linux hardened repository as well. This is something we're actually doing today. Here I'll leave it as default, and I'll add my server through IP. So this is the IP of my JovianVHR, and establish the SSH connection. The username is always OEVim, so this is set and it can't be changed. The password, I set a very simple one, admin, and SSH port 22522. This can also be changed in JovianVHR. I just left it as default. I'll also enable the sudo override, not to meet any issues with the configuration, and I'll simply click next. Now we'll have to wait. So I have a moment to answer the other question: which hardening option we have to avoid? The admin interface. As I can see, the admin as in the SSH are on the same IP. Which hardening option? I don't really get it, Giovanni. You have to avoid access to the admin interface.
I think what Giovanni means is, for example, if we can shut down the Apache server of the Jovian GUI, for example, because there is, as many instances or connections are open, that's always a security risk. And I think it is if we can work without the GUI, I guess was the question, or if we can work with only, let's say, command line interface. And I think yes, it's possible. About the IPs, I can't tell really much. I'm not an expert here, but we might also have a solution for that. Yeah.
So the password to SSH and the password to GUI are two different passwords, right? So they are not the same passwords. So even if there is some kind of a breach, right? They won't get both, by getting only one. And the other thing is that we will disable SSH once we are done with the configuration here. So there's no real backdoor because SSH is disabled, right, from the administrator GUI. I hope that this answers your question, Giovanni. All right, and yeah, we can proceed with the configuration. Now, Vim will install those two components to JovianVHR. So this is actually why we need the SSH connection for this installation. We'll have to wait for a few seconds, but as you can see, it's going very, very quickly. Yes, Konstantinos, it needs a separate Vim server, yes. Okay, we click next, and we simply finish. And now we click here on populate. And now the Vim is scanning JovianVHR for all the repositories, and we have to choose the one we have configured in the GUI, and click next. And here you can actually adjust the immutability options. For example, as I've mentioned, JovianVHR is using ZFS, but the hardened repository requires XFS. So the repository we have created is formatted with an XFS file system. I think this is a very important thing that I haven't mentioned, that the repository is actually a block storage device that can be formatted, and it is formatted with the XFS file system. And Vim by default uses this fast cloning option that reduce storage consumption and so on, etc. We of course want it enabled, and we can adjust the immutability period. And this is something Konstantinos was asking about. You have to set it. It's by default it's set to 7 days, but you can set it to 3,660, for example, 10 years, right? So you can set any number you want here, but let's keep it at 7 for the purpose of this presentation. We actually leave it all default today. I simply click next. And this is almost the last step. I have this vPower NFS for VMware and Hyper-V already installed. So I'll just tick it off, but you can of course use it. That there's no issue with that. And this is it. We can make a quick review if we have done everything right. One maybe important thing, if you are moving the Vim, the JovianVHR, the OpenE JovianVHR from, for example, a different rack, or you are moving to a completely new environment, and you already have some VBK files, so the backup files on the repository, you might want to enable this option so that Vim actually searches for them, doesn't override them, by accident, and uses it as a new starting point for subsequent backups. I of course don't have them, so I take it off and I click apply. And again, we will have to wait a few seconds. Okay, if something is going wrong and chain is broken between Jovian and JovianVHR and Vim, how quick how quick the restore progresses? Okay, that's a good question, Konstantinos. It of course depends on the amount of data and the amount of backup and the amount of time for which the disconnection, right, took place. For example, what Vim does is it keeps all the backups in a queue, right? So, for example, if you only have one backup plan that wasn't completed, it will wait in a queue, and once the connection is established again, the backup will start again. Of course, starting with the first thing in the queue. So all the stopped jobs have to complete to restore the current state of storage. So depending on the time and depending on the amount of data, this time may vary, right? Okay, now I click next, and I simply click finish. Change the configuration backup location. No, I don't want that. You could do it, but I don't want to configure it. And just like this, we are done with the basic configuration. One last thing, of course, that we have to remember about is to disable the SSH protocol right now. We don't need it anymore, so we can close this backdoor completely. And those components I was talking about, the Vim installer and Vim data mover, are already installing and are running. So you can verify here that the integration actually works as it should. And from this point forward, you can set up your backup jobs in Vim. You can configure our snapshots in JovianVHR, of course, but we will leave it for another day. We won't go very deep into it right now. If you're interested in a more in-depth demo, you can always contact us at pre-sales or one of our sales representatives and schedule one demo with us. We will go much more in depth with you in such a demo. All right, so that's it from myself. Thank you very much for your attention. I will be happy to answer any questions that may arise, later on, or even after the webinar. And for now, I give back the stage to Sebastian.
Yeah, Rafael, thank you so much. So first of all, I think it's awesome. So we were able to set up the whole product itself in like 15 minutes. It is really easy, as you could see from the viewing point. So it is, as it said, it was a solution designed for everybody that we can easily manage the data pretty quickly. Yeah, so Rafael, thanks once again, and then we're gonna continue with our presentation. We just saw the live demo and we also enjoyed it. I think you enjoyed it as much as I did. And yeah, let's gonna take a quick look about our main product, Jovian DSS, and also VHR. And here we're gonna take a look here at the slide. So as Rafael already said, we don't have any protocol support. So as you could see in the GUI, everything was grayed out. We could not make a iSCSI target, no NFS, SMB share. It is only the GUI was so reworked that you can only do a repository for Veeam. So it means it's only Veeam specific protocol only. As the product VHR is designed for Veeam users, of course, in the first instance. For sure, you can additional use it with Jovian or use Jovian additional with Veeam and do this Veeam hardenet repository. This would be, of course, the best solution. But by design, you won't need Jovian. You only need Veeam and, of course, a hardenet repository. Yeah, the intended use for Jovian is, of course, you have NAS or SAN infrastructures, networks, like most of the customers of OpenE customer base is HA clusters. We are pretty much famous for HA clustering in the CFS community because not so many companies can do that, especially with the Metro cluster. So, yeah, VHR is the total opposite of this. It is a single node solution based on the Veeam backup repository only, basically. So there is not really much to do. When it comes to customization, we have, of course, with Jovian, we have a lot of tuning options. We can do block size as well. This is also in VHR possible, but there is a reason why we have also trainings for Jovian. And there's a lot of skill needed on the next point. So there's a lot of storage, a lot of things to configure. And with VHR, it is, as you could see, very easy. I'm pretty sure I would even able to handle it. Yeah, when it comes to the complexity, I think Jovian is, let's say, pretty medium, or let's even high, as we offer 3 or 4 day trainings. There's a lot of stuff to consider, even monitoring. And now we have Proxmox on board and a lot of stuff. So a lot of things to know. We also have REST API and all this kind of stuff. With VHR, it's, as you can see, very simple. You just need to make sure you have the SSA connection in the beginning, install these 2 plugins, and then disable it again, and that's basically it. And do snapshots, yeah. Yeah, the Veeam integration is with Jovian itself. We have no repository itself, so we have only the snapshots. If you would use Jovian DSS without the VHR, you would only have one layer of defense, like only the CFS by design unprotectable snapshots, but that's it. You don't have any Veeam hardenet repository. And here, of course, you have this full hardenet repository option. Yeah, immutability. We believe it's a great combination here. And yeah, the same with security. Jovian, you can set all this kind of stuff, SMB shares, users, ACLs, and here with VHR, you're pretty limited to what Veeam will offer you, basically. All right. Yeah, let's summarize this here. It is a really great product, VHR, for all the Veeam users or all existing Veeam users. It adds another layer of security or of data security. Also, it is totally compliant with all the new regulations like NIS2, GDPR, and all this kind of stuff. It is very cost effective and scalable, and I think the licensing is pretty simple, pretty straightforward, really easy. And yeah, I think from the management we are pretty as well here easy, I would say, and this is what matters. I mean, sure, you can do this also with a plain CFS. You can try it. We tried it, and we found out it's pretty hard, and we have optimized a lot of things which are deep in the software, which we will even not mention, but we have tested it also under heavy conditions, heavy workload, and it's really good and reliable. Yeah, we're coming to an end. We have now almost 50 minutes of the webinar. We have now 50 minutes or 10 minutes for all the Q&A, for all the questions. And yeah, let's gonna take a look what is here on the chat already.
Yes, and we have actually quite a few questions. So let me start from the top. About the snapshots. So this is more for another demo meeting. But basically, how we recommend to configure the snapshots are to configure, um, two, let's say, layers of snapshots, right? The first layer should actually be configured the same as the immutability period is configured in Vim. And the other one, the second layer, should actually be for, the snapshots should be kept for a much longer period of time. This gives you the uh, best of both worlds, actually, because you can, restore the backup that is in the same schedule that the immutability is, right? And if you, for example, you have some issues that have been, for example, over the weekend, and you want to go back to something that was, let's say from a longer period of time, right? You can you can resort to the second layer of snapshots. So this is how you do. Of course, there are use cases. Well, there are as many use cases as there are deployments, right? So in practice, it would probably look a bit differently, but this is the baseline recommendation. All right, JovianVHR is between Vim and Jovian. No. JovianVHR is actually a separate product, right? So you don't have to use Jovian DSS, right? You simply use JovianVHR with disks connected directly, right? And you connect the repository from VHR to Vim. So you don't need Jovian DSS for that. Okay, will OpenEJovianVHR have a high availability failover cluster feature in the near future? That's a good question. Well, when it comes to high availability, HA is crucial for production data, right? If we have downtime, we have service disruption, and a lot of problems. When it comes to the backup repository, if it goes on offline for a few hours, let's say, your production still keeps running, and the backup jobs can restore once the connection is back, as we've said, a few minutes before. On top of that, HA adds complexity. There is a big synchronization overhead. Potential corruption risk. Well, what I'm trying to say is that if you think about backup, you actually think about simple solutions, right? You don't want to have a very, complicated system because it can, behave unexpectedly in a, the least suitable moment, right? So for now, the future is not available and it's not planned, as far as I know. But well, we will see what the future holds. But for now, no.
Yeah, but let me quickly add some words here. I think, thanks for the good question. What is also important to know, we support also multiple single nodes. So you can make multiple single nodes. And in general, for backup, if you make this hardware network repository, backup should be as cheap as possible, and that's why we believe single node solutions are the best for backup, or even for this hardware network repository. If you need another redundancy, you can add another single node. Clustering is, I guess, technically possible. We will consider it in the future, but for now we are not seeing the, let's see, real benefit out of it. It's we think the security reason is much more valuable here in this case than having it HA clustered in a, let's say, add-on a backup a product. Yeah.
Right. As far as we can say, simplicity is key, right? So for now, we will stick with the single nodes, but who can say what happens, in the future, right? Okay. About Vim, can I use community edition, or do you need an extra license? As far as I know, community edition doesn't support a hardened repository, so you would have to use a license that supports it. So to answer this question, you would need an extra license of Vim. Best setup of JovianVHR, bare metal or virtualization? This is actually a very good question. It actually keeps coming back. Well, I'd say that, of course you can do both, right? There's no issue with configuring it as bare metal or virtualization. A virtualization configuration has an added benefit that JovianVHR is very, it's a minimalistic solution compared to Jovian DSS, right? So it doesn't generate so much load. It doesn't need so many resources. So you could actually do something like run Proxmox or vSphere hypervisor, run JovianVHR as a virtual machine, and alongside it, Vim server, right? On, for example, Windows, right? And you could have everything on a single, virtualized environment, right? And you can use it like that. So yes, of course, if you want to use it, you can do it. You of course need a proper hardware for that. But you could of course do that. Does it support Proxmox? Well, Vim supports Proxmox, so I guess the answer is yes. Yes, it supports Proxmox. It can run as a VM on Proxmox, and it can also backup Proxmox VMs.
Basically any hypervisor is supported. Everything which is on Jovian supported is also on VHR supported, because we basically use the same Linux underneath Debian. I'm not sure actually which version, and the OpenCFS behind as well. So it's just, let's say, a restricted version. Yeah.
Giovanni, about your comment, I'm not quite sure, and I would have to check it. If the warning comes from virtualized disks, or from the virtualized machine itself. Sure, of course. I mean, I'm not doubting it, right? I mean, the environment here I have is actually fully virtualized, for example. So this is how it runs, and as far as I have seen, I haven't noticed any warnings. But then again, right, you can use it as a bare metal if there are some compliance issues with running it as a VM. So yeah. I don't know what to say more about it. You can do both, but if there are some compliance warnings, you might want to resort to a bare metal in this case, right?
All right, let's take a sip of coffee, wait for some more questions, and then I think we are pretty good. By the way, of course, this will be available later on YouTube, the webinar. You can watch a replay. It will be edited, and then after a few days, it will be uploaded as every webinar for sure. And if you have in general questions even further, please contact us, of course. And yeah, we'll be happy to answer any questions.
It was a pleasure, Konstantinos.
All right. So if there is no questions, then we would like to drop a big thank you to all viewers which have tuned in today. Very important, please test JovianVHR. We have, same with Jovian DSS, a 60-day trial. And if you even need more, we are very happy to support you. And Raphael and Philip, our pre-sales team, they're very willing to help you, even to set it up. If you also need help with monitoring or whatever you are in need of any help here in this topic, please contact us and we will just make it happen. We have very experienced staff behind it, and they are pretty familiar with all the topics which are open come up. So again, thank you very much for tuning in. Raphael, thank you also very much. And yeah, from my side, all the best. Have a nice day and a nice afternoon. And yeah, hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. And yes, let's keep in touch, right? Email us if any questions you may have, right?
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. All the best. Bye.